What is it like to ride a bike designed to win the Tour de France? In this video, we will find out, because this is a brand new Colnago V4Rs, the Italian company's latest, greatest and fastest race bike in its long history. It's a bike I've been mega excited to ride ever since we saw a prototype being used by Tadej Pogacar last season. But here it is, finally, in all its glory. So in this video, we'll review it, go through the details, some likes and dislikes I've discovered after a month of living with the bike, how it performs on my local roads, the price, weight, comparison with rivals, and of course the C68, and find out whether it's a bike for you. So I'm David, you're watching Just Ride Bikes. Let's dive in. Visually, the new bike does look very similar to the old V4Rs that I rode a couple of years ago. The drop rear stays, the shape of the down tube. But if I look more closely, I can see a few tweaks and refinements here and there. But you have to look really closely to identify the differences. So they haven't really messed with their formula that much. And that explains why the aero gains for this new bike aren't significantly better than the old V4Rs. And also the weight is about the same as well. So you start to wonder what they have changed. What they have actually changed is the stiffness of the frame. You can't really see that, but they developed their own test to analyze the way the bike responds, flexes and deforms when a rider like Tadej Pogacar is sprinting out of the saddle or climbing up a steep road. So they developed these tests to ensure the bike has more stiffness when that rider is sprinting. And that's something I found after riding the bike for the last month. You really notice straight away. The bike just feels way stiffer and way more dynamic and way more willing to launch you up the road. Let me share some likes and dislikes, and top of my list of likes are the Ceramic Speed SLT solid bearings in the headset. That means longer life on the bearings, and that's a great thing when you have the internal cable routing through the handlebar and the steer tube, which does make servicing headset bearings a bit trickier. You might not agree, but I like the fact we have a multi-tool inside the stem, so it's always there when you need it to make any small mechanical changes, and say putting one in your jersey pocket or saddlebag. I like the fact we have space for 32mm wide tyres, in line with most other race bikes in this category, and these are 28 fitted to a wide MV rim, and actually probably a bit wider, and there's still loads of space between the fork and the rear stage, so good real world comfort away from the race circuit. I love the fact we have a T47 bottom bracket, all the benefits of an oversized shell for stiffness and low weight, but the convenience and easy servicing of a threaded design. So that's a really smart move. One really annoying niggle on this bike is the computer mount. It's just a bit flimsy and doesn't feel very secure or solid. But I'm currently testing this one from Frames and Gear. I'll put a link down below, and it's much more secure. As with most race bikes in this category, the price tag is eye-watering at best. The frame set on its own will set you back £5,000, but that is cheaper than a Pinarello Dogma F, but more money than a Specialized S-Works Tarmac SL7. So in the ballpark for that sort of bike. But unlike the C68, this bike isn't made in Italy, which is a bit of a shame. This bike here, as you see it, is essentially a team replica build with a Shimano Dura Di2 12-speed group set, which is excellent by the way, fantastic shifting performance, all the gears you really need, and really good brakes, and the best ergonomics in the business, and some MV SES 4.5 wheels, and Colnago's own handlebar, not the MV handlebar that Tadej uses. But this build here, you're looking at around £13,000, so a big price tag for sure. And that makes for a bike that, on my scales, is 7.16 kilograms. Not exactly light, is it? Given the high price and high-end components on this bike, it doesn't seem unreasonable to expect a weight closer to the UCI's limit of 6.8 kilograms. But weight isn't everything, so let's see how the bike rides. So what's it like riding a Tour de France race bike then? Well, I'm not gonna lie, it feels amazing. It's fast, light, stiff, great handling, just so much speed even with me on it, powering the pedals, this bike is jolly fast. If you love riding road bikes for the speed they offer you and the way they make you feel, well, this new bike will have you tingling big time. Now, based on my testing and my experience, this is a fast bike and compares well to other bikes in a category: Tarmac, Super 6 Evo, TCR Advanced, a Monda SLR, and so on. I don't think it's any faster than those bikes though, but I would love to put a bike and all its rivals in the wind tunnel and find out which bike is truly the fastest or the most aero with the lowest drag. But as you guys know, wind tunnel testing is an expensive business, but with your support I can get there, and a sub to the channel would be tremendous. But based on my experience, it's clearly fast, it's not holding Tadej Pogačar back, and it's not holding me back at all. So if it's no faster and it's no lighter than the old bike, what have they changed? Well, the biggest improvement that I really feel straight away is the stiffness of the bike, and that frame stiffness manifests itself as a bike that is super responsive. Probably the most responsive race bike I've tried in a long time. And I mean, when you're sprinting out of a saddle, powering up a steep climb, riding in a Tadej Pogačar style, shall we say, this bike is just amazing. Delivers so much energy, so much speed, just full of character, just a lovely bike to ride. Thankfully, that abundant stiffness doesn't translate into a ride that is harsh or overly firm, but it's definitely not the smoothest race bike I've experienced, even with 28mm wide tyres at low pressures like 55 psi front and rear. So definitely a firm ride for sure. You get loads of information from the road surface through the contact points, but it doesn't beat you up unnecessarily. So pretty balanced bike in that regard, offering, as it does, big stiffness for sprinting and seated climbing, but also enough comfort that it won't really give you a hard time if you are dealing with rough roads, which, let's be honest, most of us have to contend with these days. And that stiffness and the way it responds to your inputs is really the defining feature of this new bike, and a big improvement over the old V4Rs, which felt a bit soft and wasn't really on the same level as the likes of the Tarmac and the Trek and Monda and so on. So the improvements to a new bike definitely push it beyond where the current Tarmac and the Trek and Monda and the Super 6 Evo, the new one, are right now. So definitely one of the stiffest, most responsive bikes I have yet ridden. And I really like the way the bike steers, turns and handles too, thanks to that slacker head angle, slacker than most other race bikes. And where that really benefits you is on downhills. The longer, the faster, the twistier, the more the bike gives you bags and bags of confidence. If you live in the mountains and you live for descent, this is the bike to have. Handling is so good compared to steeper race bikes. And I think they're probably my favorite feature of a Colnago race bike. That handling just in a class of its own, so good. You really have to try it to see what you're missing. That's all very well, but how does a V4RS compare to the company's own C68? Well, I'm in a very fortunate position of riding both bikes back to back with the same wheels and tyres. The two bikes do have a lot in common, but I can distill the differences between the two into one simple sentence. If you're racing, choose this bike. If you're not racing, choose the C68. That's the bike I would choose over this one. Same geometry, same fantastic handling, but the C68 is a bit smoother and I think it looks better. I love the fact it's made in Italy still, and all the heritage going back to the C40 in the 1990s. So that's the bike I personally would choose. The new bike comes in 7 sizes, and this is a size 51, with 51 referring to the seat tube length, which measures 51 centimeters. The effective top tube is actually 55 centimeters. I normally prefer a 56, so it's in the right range for me. Personally, I prefer a slightly longer stem, give me the perfect reach, but you can't do that very easily with a one-piece handlebar and stem. But the fit is pretty good for me with a saddle in the middle of the rails. I would, if I buy on the bike, slam the stem, get right down onto the top headset spacer as I have on my C68. But if you're buying a bike and you want a slightly higher fit, it's not a bad option. It looks okay with the aero spacers, and it means you can access the drops a bit more easily. I won't dive into too much detail of the geometry, but there's one thing that's really worth talking about, because the key difference to other bikes in this category, and that is the head angle and a seat tube angle. So here we have a 71.8 degree head angle, which is slacker than the more typical 73, and the seat tube is 74, so a bit steeper than a normal 73. And the difference that has in the way the bike steers and the way it handles descents is just amazing. So should you buy the Colnago V4Rs or avoid it? Well, I think if you want a bike that's exciting to ride and is clearly fast in my experience, and if you can live with a high price and the way the bike looks, I think it's a really exciting option for 2023. And if Tadej Pogačar doesn't win the 2023 Tour de France, well, he can't blame the bike, that's for sure. Anyway, let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. I'll leave you a review to my Colnago C68 up there somewhere, so you can go and watch that afterwards if you want. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel by hitting the button down here. But as the rain falls, it's time to end this review. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all again very soon.